Hello everyone, welcome back to the Dolphina show. My name is Sophie and I'm actually coming to you today from Amherst Island. So I decided to do something a little bit different this week. So I took the ferry at 7:30 this morning and I visited Topsy Farm out of Amherst Island, and I really hope you enjoy it. Keep on watching. There you go.
Okay, so
Sally. Hi.
hello.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are right now at Topsy Farms. So yeah, I took the ferry this morning, woke up at 5 to walk Charlie before I came to this amazing place. So Sally, introduce yourself.
Well, I love gaudy, as you can see. With the remaining sunflowers and all of my zinnias here. I just like color. I crave color. And this sweater I made, but because of my handicap, I spend a lot of time in bed hooked up. So I did this, took me about 2.5 years because I knit lying flat on my back. And so it's a bit slower process.
That's okay.
But
It's amazing. You look amazing.
And it feels good.
And it's warm. It's kind of a, it's early fall day.
And it's perfect because it's Topsy wool and it's Topsy sheep's wool. And,
There you go.
and it's got all its natural oils in it, so it feels good.
That's awesome. So Sally, you're one of the founders of this farm.
Not quite. Ian's first wife, Leah's mama,
Okay.
and Ian and 3 other people formed a commune in '71.
When did you arrive?
Me after the first wife, after the commune breakup. In the mid-'70s, they were working really hard to repay the former commune people who'd been here. So another close friend of Ian's introduced us, invited me for the summer, and then played matchmaker.
Imagine that.
Yes.
And here we are.
And I've been here, so mid-'70s.
Almost 50 years later.
City girl, yeah, truly. Truly. And so it's a place that it grew like Topsy, you know, the Uncle Tom's Cabin expression. It doesn't mean there hasn't been planning and forethought, but individuals are encouraged to initiate new directions and explore new concepts. And so Ian said he spent too much time on the tractor worrying about wool prices, because all we had at that point was a lot of really quality sheep. Wool was valueless. It was like 2 cents a pound. And so he spent so much time on the tractor worrying about it that he initiated contact with the wool processing company in PEI where he was from. Had a family trip down there, and lo and behold, we went into the wool business.
There we are.
Yeah, and so
That's awesome.
We have on our bed the first blanket we bought 25 years ago.
That's awesome.
In gorgeous shape, I might say.
Well, yeah. If you like anything else made in wool, lasts forever.
Meant to last. Yeah.
There you go. So you are Jake and Kyle's mom.
I am Jake and Kyle's mom.
So now they are the new generation. So they took over pretty much, right?
Thank goodness. Yeah, so the young people have so much more energy, so much more electronic and modern day know-how. Thank goodness. Because Ian and I, between us, we're trying to do too much and doing it adequately, but not optimally.
Well, you do pretty good, I think. I think it keeps like the whole family vibe and the whole thing, which is great.
Well, we've always wanted to make people welcome, always. Since I think that one of the events that you first came, I think, was in the spring when we have the baby lambs for whom Mama can't raise them, and either it's a third triplet that's much smaller than the other two, or one with an injury, or whatever. Mama rejects it. And so you come and you cuddle.
Which was probably the best experience of my life, actually.
It was at a good time.
It was intense, to say the least.
But there are a lot of people whose lives can get overwhelming, and for whom interacting caringly with a very vulnerable entity is just really a joy. And so that families can come and have half an hour with the small pack of babies that need cuddling.
That's awesome.
We have the staff person who teach, and people are welcome to come to shearing. That's free, but they just have to book the time. And this past year we had events planned for every darn week, and of course, thanks to COVID, we've had to cancel. Yeah, there's our reality. And so we managed to do Jacob. Well, he'll tell you more about that, but the whole Victory Garden thing,
which was. I was so excited to come because I think you guys are doing something absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Like, not only for this community, but I've seen people having Victory Gardens on their balcony in Toronto, and
exactly. It's just people were vulnerable, were at a loss, and so we just tried to inspire. Okay, this is something concretely that you can do, that you can have a bit of control over.
Absolutely.
Not always, but it's physical and it's concrete. And for me, I mean, I can't eat, right? So getting my hands in the garden is soul food. I can feed my family. I can give away things to families who come, and it just feeds my heart. And so, for instance, our elderberry bush, we put paper bags around the sides so that we save those berries, and the birds get everything on top. So it's sharing, you know,
exactly, which is amazing.
Yeah. And so I love it when little kids wander through the tomato patch, and then they go out. I give them a tomato to munch like an apple.
Michael?
Yes.
You're the third generation of Topsy.
Yes, I am.
What do you do on the farm?
I help my Uncle Kyle beekeep.
Yep.
I work with the sheep when my Uncle Kyle needs help.
Yep.
And I was the poultry manager.
That's awesome. And you go to school?
I'm going to school in about 5 minutes.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm in grade 7.
Yep.
And I am in a school with only 29 kids.
So you go to school on the island?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. So, what's your favorite subject in school?
My favorite subject in school is probably math.
Really? That's awesome.
I'm very strong in it, and I like it.
That's awesome. Well, Michael, thank you for your time. Hello. Hi. I know. Hello.
We're mixing lots of meat and a little bit of vegetables and hoping we get happy dogs. Mostly it works. But they are persnickety, you know? You give them what seems like a really nice mix. Lots of meat, good quality kibble. And sometimes they're still just, I don't know, not impressed. Sometimes they're like, yeah, this is definitely you. It's meaty, you should enjoy it. And they're a little more like it. These girls are kind of spoiled. They've got a lot of passion themselves.
How many are there?
There's only 11 in here. There's 2 more that would be in that group, but I've got them in quarantine at the barn. one of them just has like bad mastitis and wasn't enjoying walking up and down the road. The other one has pneumonia, has had pneumonia repeatedly, and I've just treated it for the 3rd time, and I'm worried it's something called Benivista, which is a strand of pneumonia that's much harder to cure. And so because of that, I don't want her next to this year that I might go back to the main flock, because if it is what I'm worried that it is, it's something you really don't want to spread.
So, I'm not a farm girl. How do you know, like, a sheep has pneumonia?
So kind of like that lamb, you can spot from a distance that it's not doing well. Ears are down, looks kind of funky, not keeping up with the group, sluggish. You go over and you take a closer look, just breathing. With pneumonia, you can hear them like wheezing. Sometimes they're fine until they're made to walk a little bit, and then you kind of thing. And it sounds different for different ones. What I just did sounds more like what the rams sound like. But you hear it in their breathing. And then penicillin is pretty effective in treating that. By 19 times out of 20, if I get a case of pneumonia, I cure it. And that one case out of 20, it's very advanced, and I'm not that surprised it does anyway. This one's unusual because she wasn't that bad. I treated it, she seemed fine. It happened again. I treated it, she seemed fine. It happened again. And then maybe this is something different.
Something there, okay.
It's just lots of types of pneumonia. And
so what happened, if you can't, you've been treating her 4, 5, 6 times, and
so I just treated her 2.5 weeks ago. Yep. The medical holdback on that type of pneumonia is 2 weeks. Okay. So she can go now. She's fine, she can go. I think it'll come back, so my plan is to send her before it comes back. Okay. And the meat inspectors at the slaughterhouse will look at the carcass, they'll probably look at her lungs and be like, oh, she's had pneumonia, we're condemning the lungs, but that's fine. It doesn't make the rest of the meat problematic at all.
Kyle, what made you decide to take over for Chris as a shepherd?
Oh, I figured it was better than the alternative. I didn't want to. Chris said he was leaving. Jake said he didn't want to do it. Nobody else wanted to do it. So it was the case of let all the sheep die, figure out something else to do with their lives. Probably sell the land, not be a farm anymore, and go our separate ways maybe, or be the shepherd. Technically it's a choice, but I didn't really feel like one.
You enjoy it though?
Not usually, no. There's parts I like, but no, overall I don't enjoy it. I'd prefer to be involved with the work but not have the responsibility, and have the option of not being involved with the work at times.
There's a lot of pressure on your shoulder.
Yeah, I was freaked out at first, having done it for 2 years now. It's not as scary, but I worry pretty constantly. What's the pasture going to do? Is the hay going to be enough? Are the pellets going to last until we get the new load? What are the parasites doing? Did I treat a high enough percentage of the sheep with the fluke bar. Always things to worry about. What the predators are doing, what the dogs are doing. And when you let your guard down a little bit, let other people sort of do the jobs for you, then it helps keep you sane and helps you maintain, but it also makes more problems. When you delegate to other people, you can't possibly spell out every little scenario of what to do in the event of. So, you know, little problems happen, and then you come back and you try to deal with them. And as long as nobody died, you usually don't feel too bad about it. Sometimes, you know, things die just because you took a bit of time for yourself.
Like I said, I think you're doing a pretty good job anyways.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel like overall I'm doing a pretty good job. People often say, oh, you're doing the best you can. And I say, nope, I could always do better. Pretty much everybody could always do better on just about everything they do. It's fair to say I'm trying to do my best. Not I am doing my best. But even then, I'm not trying to do my best. I'm trying to do the best job I can and maintain. Because like if I was working much harder on the farm, I just wouldn't be able to last very long. See the honeybee? That's good to see.
It is.
Yeah, it's been a good year for the bees. So the bees I kind of like doing. You know, you're asked if I like the sheep. It's rarely fun working with the sheep. The bees are kind of cool. If there were no sheep, I wouldn't be like, I'm going to get sheep. But if there were no bees, I probably would go ahead and get some bees.
Leah.
Sophie.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm awesome. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes. Hi, my name's Leah Murray. I grew up on Topsy Farms. This is my family farm. And I left about 15 seconds after I graduated from high school. And I would have laughed in your face if you suggested I would ever have come back to the island. But I've been back for a while and have been full-time in the business for the past 5 years.
So what do you do? You're in charge of operations and stuff like that, right? Yes.
My main area is the retail aspect of things.
Yep.
So I do the wool shed and all of that entails the website and everything, and also all the bookkeeping and accounting stuff. So I do a lot of this.
What's your best memory of growing up here?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Even if you left 15 seconds after you graduated.
Probably when I got my horse. When I was 10, I had taken riding lessons, which was a huge big deal because we didn't have any money or any time. So for somebody to take the effort to get me to the mainland, you know, once a week, it was a huge thing. But I loved it. And then when I was 10, my dad bought me a pony, which was so crazy.
That's amazing.
And it was really, one of the great things about that was growing up out here, it's very isolated and it's a small community. It's hard to break into a small community. I mean, even though I was born here, I'm not an old islander.
Yep. And
I was the child of the godless hippie freaks who were up to who knows what at the end of the island. So that was hard. And I always, you know, wanted to be more urban than I was able to be. So actually the really great thing about having a horse, in addition to it being, you know, the dream, was that it really made me fall in love with the land in a way that I don't see that I would have gotten there any other way.
Because your parents are the original founder of the farm, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What's missing in your life right now?
Oh, very little.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is a good gig.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, COVID's made things more interesting. Usually I would have a lot more company over the summer and see friends from far away, and so that I would say at this point that's the main thing that I'm missing, is just because of the current circumstances, can't visit with people in the way that I normally would. But other than that, you know, it's the great thing about this business, even just the retail side of it, is that it's never boring, and the days are all different.
That's
and
awesome.
You never know what's going to happen. So I really like that aspect of it.
What's one positive thing of this current situation?
The current COVID situation?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when at the beginning of things, when the shop was closed and all of our events were canceled, I mean, hey everybody, we missed you, but it was really nice to be able to hunker down and get a lot of things done without having people everywhere. So that was great. And I think, like, is a question for me personally?
More.
Okay. So it has given me, again, a much more concrete and enormous appreciation for the scope of what we have. I mean, you know, this whole time I've been able to go for a walk in the woods or sit by the lake or, you know, just be outside and
sink everything in.
I cannot imagine how people stuck in apartments without balconies survive. I can't even. So that, the amount of time that I have spent paying attention to how great that is, and also just doing things out of doors in a much more specific and committed way because I can, has been fantastic.
One negative thing?
No live music. That's the thing I miss absolutely the most. And it's great that so many people are doing stuff online, and I do participate in that, but it's just...
But the vibe is completely different.
You know, you need to be in the room, and I feel so sad for the artists, too, because that's, I mean, you can't get that energy from a screen. You have to be in the room with people.
I agree.
So, yeah, that's the worst part.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, pretty much doing the same thing, with, I guess, with enough money to have more staff so that I can concentrate on more complicated big picture stuff. So, you know, one of the things about this position is that there was never a day in my life when I woke up and was like, I want to be a copywriter. I want to be a web developer. I want to be an accountant, you know? So there are all these things that I have to do, and they're interesting, and it's good to be learning something. But at the same time, when I'm the only one who can staff the shop, then I'm not doing those other things that are really important for the growth of the business.
Yep.
So I would like to have things in place so that I was able to concentrate more on that stuff. And one of the things that has happened this year is because, like, Ian and Sally used to do a lot of work in the wool shed.
Yep.
And now we're all just, you know, you guys.
You're retired.
Not do that anymore. And so I've had to staff it a lot differently because they're always home. And so it was fine. And now it's not the same. So, yeah, I mean, continuing on, having more events and more activities so that we can bring more people here and share the space that we have. And selling even more blankets.
That's on my wish list. Hello!
Welcome to the wool shed.
Yay!
Come on in.
Oh, I want one like that.
Oh yeah. So we are very, very, very excited about this.
This is so awesome.
It is the only Canadian blanket that is 100% Canadian wool and Canadian alpaca.
This is so awesome.
And we just got these a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, so it's very new and they're so nice. So yeah, this is our most exciting new thing right now.
That's awesome.
And this is where it all happens.
This is it. All right. So you guys have these blankets, but you have your regular wool blankets.
That's right. Yeah. So this is these are just the wool and alpaca, and everything else is wool. So the mill that processes our wool washes everything in natural soap.
Yep.
Most commercial wool is washed in chemicals, which gets rid of the organics that are bound up with the wool fibers, but it also breaks the actual wool fibers and strips the lanolin out. So because this is natural soap only, the wool is softer and the lanolin is still intact.
That's so awesome. Does the lanolin has anything to do with preservation? Is that what makes it so more durable?
Yeah, it is. I mean, lanolin's the natural waterproofing agent that sheep produce.
Yep.
So when you leave that in the fleece, it is going to make it more weatherproof and long-lasting.
Oh, I love it.
So in addition to the blankets, we also have the Lighthouse collection, which is wool-filled bedding.
So duvets, mattress toppers, pillows.
Yeah. And then all of the small things are hand done by local knitters.
And then yarn.
And then so much yarn.
And then yarn.
Yes. Yes, I have sold a lot more yarn this year than I generally would have. Because COVID, everybody wants to get crafty. So we sell a lot of yarn. We also have roving, which is for needle felting, which is like a sculptural fiber art, basically. And so we've sold a lot of needle felting kits as well.
So cool. So you have worsted, Aran.
And fingering, which is single ply. So we just...
so that's the one, right?
Yeah, this is single ply. We just started getting fingering weight we had it in white for a while, but we've just started carrying it in colors, which you should have known because I think you're on the mailing list and I sent out a newsletter. But yeah, so we're getting it in colors now and people are stoked about that.
I'm so happy. Because Roots and Rain dyes your fingering weight, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's really, again, because the natural soap thing, the white yarn is great for natural dyeing. We sell a ton of white to people who are just doing natural dyeing with it.
That's awesome. And the sheepskins.
And sheepskins are also washable. Isn't that pretty?
I love the fact that there's
just the one spot.
I love it.
We do also have honey usually, but we are out right now because it's extracting season and we always run out right before extracting season.
Mm-hmm. So you usually have honey. You have the fridge outside, so you sell the meat also.
Yep.
And
we have we also have syrup now, which is not from our sugar bush, but it is from the island.
Cool.
We do have a sugar bush, and I would love for somebody to be making syrup, but it's who has the time for that?
And this is my absolute favorite picture.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
Like every time I come, do you still have the cards with those?
I don't have any of those right now, but yeah, that is a great shot.
Yes.
This is Cedar.
Hello, Cedar. You know what? I have an emoji with you on it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, she is a 2-year-old Highland cow.
She's gorgeous.
She's my favorite redhead.
So, Jake, introduce yourself a little bit.
My name's Jacob Murray. I have been working at Topsy Farms my whole life. I'm 39. And this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Not the cow brushing, but the helping to run the farm. It's the hardest thing that I've ever done.
So, what were you doing before this? Because you were off the island for a little bit, I think, right?
Yep. Yeah, I've done multiple jobs in my life. I've been a pool service technician. I have installed billiard tables. I've done some roofing and some contracting.
it's always led back to the farm. I've never gone too very far away.
So, what made you want to take over for your parents and Chris and everything?
I never really wanted to take over. That's the honest truth.
It's funny because Kyle said pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. It was always an option. You know, the option was always there, and there was always the idea that someday we would be welcome to do that.
Yep.
It wasn't until the winter of 2017, 2018 that I got the passion for it. And that passion came, and it came hard, because it mixed together some of my favorite things, which were being with the animals and then working on the marketing, which was a thing I never thought that I would enjoy, but it turns out I really like doing it.
And you know what? And to be super honest, I told your mom that you're getting better and better and better every time I see you. I mean, hats off. I'm so impressed.
Thank you so much.
Seriously.
Well, and you know, it turns out the experts are right about practice.
Makes perfect?
Perfect is a long way off.
But
because,
yeah.
I mean, that's ultimately what we do here is we document the struggle. Every day, we document the struggle so that people can share in the triumphs.
And that people can understand what kind of work is actually involved in everything that comes from the farm.
Just to authentically be us every single day, whether it's pretty, greasy, muddy, bloody, or
rainy,
poop. I mean, this is just. I think, you know, to speak to what you were saying, I think that's why it resonates, is because humans can smell the artifice very well. They can smell the cow poop.
We know the fake versus the true.
You know the fake. Now, oftentimes we override that and enjoy the fake, but it doesn't last. The fake doesn't last. This farm's been in business following these general principles of harmony with the land, animals, and each other since it started. So that's 50 years of basically following those guidelines.
What's your best memory of this place as a kid?
Best memory as a kid, I would say, would be swimming with the family on the homemade raft. We built a raft and anchored it out in the water, and I can remember that first time of pushing it into the lake as a family, and you know, a beautiful evening, 7:30, and that beautiful sunlight as it's going down, and being kids and getting the ride out on the raft, and then just working together on that as the project, but also the playtime. It was a mix, and taking that image and that memory forward to today, that's what we're trying to do every day, is have that shared work and have that shared experience, but also work towards the fun part of it as well.
Makes sense. So you have two sons.
I have two sons.
I met Michael this morning.
Yep.
He answered a few of my questions because I'm annoying.
My little cook.
What's the trait you think you passed on to them, or you want to pass on?
If I could pass on anything to my kids, it would be to follow their passions and do work that they would do for free. Find ways to get paid for work that they would do for free. To find out what you are the best in the world at, because there is something. To find a thing that you could do all day long for free and never get bored or tired. But then, most importantly, to figure out what it is you truly need to live a happy and fulfilled life. And if they can answer those three questions, and then find the occupation or job, or create the occupation or job that fits into those three things, those three categories, I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what that thing is, just find a thing that fills you up and makes you want to get up in the morning and not dread the morning, to not dread the Monday, to not be the Garfield.
That's even better than the answer I was expecting, but I love it. What's missing in your life right now?
Balance.
What's that mean?
There is no balance right now. My entire world is consumed with the survival of the farm. Since the head shepherd, Chris, left and retired in August of 2018, so it's been just over 2 years. We, and I particularly, because I can only speak for myself, I've been in survival mode. And as the person on the farm who's sort of in charge of the big picture, there has not really been time off.
Do you think that time off will ever come?
That's why I'm working so hard. I'm not a workaholic. I enjoy the work that I do and I'm passionate about it, but I also want to go camping. You know, I also like to go and play golf or go to a concert. I love those things. There has not been a lot of time for that. And, you know, it hasn't been a priority. Keeping the farm moving forward with momentum has been the priority. So what is missing in my life right now is the space, both mental, physical, and actual, to create time off as a priority.
So that being said, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Sitting on the beach.
Post-COVID, where we can move around again?
Yeah, sure, but I mean, I've never been much of a traveler. When you live in the most beautiful spot on earth, why would you really want to go very far? I'd love to go back to Donegal, Ireland. I'd love to see the West Coast. I've never been. I'd like to take my kids and do some more traveling. That would be nice. But in general terms, I think just finding a better balance to be able to enjoy the land and the people who visit here in a more intentional way, instead of feeling all the time like I'm waking up half an hour late.
Makes sense. What else? What's your definition of happiness?
Oh, my definition of happiness is what we talked about earlier. It's waking up at 7 o'clock on a Monday morning and just being ready to jump out of bed, and being passionate about the work that you are doing, feeling like you are making a difference in the world, and going to bed at night knowing in some way that you've made a difference.
Tell me one positive thing that came out of this pandemic.
Our Victory Garden campaign.
Let's talk about this, because that is fun. Explain to people, what was the Victory Garden project?
So the Victory Gardens in general are not our original idea. That was a thing that got North Americans through World War I and World War II. It was a program, a campaign that the government encouraged, where people would just grow their own food. To have a little plot of land, plant some carrots and some zucchini, and worry about the lettuce instead of what was happening in Europe.
Yep.
So that idea is something we transformed into our own Victory Garden growing campaign here on the island, where we announced that we would be planting gardens for as many of our neighbors as we could. When the company Kubota Canada, heard that we were going to do this, they contacted us and offered the use of a bunch of their equipment. Brand new stuff. It had like 0.5 hours of runtime on it. Just gorgeous loaders and trailers and so much great stuff. And what we ended up doing was 20 gardens for free in 30 days for our neighbors.
That's awesome.
East, west, south, nothing to the north because that's the lake. But we, I believe, also inspired other people to plant gardens on the mainland, and people who follow us on social media. Definitely people who got the gardens benefited, but I think in general we benefited far more from the goodness that comes of doing good things. It felt really nice to be able to put that anxious, busy energy into doing something that wasn't worrying. I can't do anything about what's happening in New York City, but I can plant gardens. We had lots and lots of good compost and topsoil, and we have seeds, and we had ambition, and we have the knowledge, and we had no events happening. So,
And you inspired so many people.
I hope so.
Because I've seen like people in Toronto in, you know, apartments built like planting stuff on their balconies and stuff like that. I think that was pretty amazing.
You don't need a full backyard to make a garden. All you need is a Rubbermaid container with some holes in the bottom of it. It's really easy, and plants want to grow. And I hope that we inspired people to do this. But even if one person planted a thing that they'd never done before, that's a win. And so that is definitely a positive thing that came out of the pandemic.
One negative thing for you?
A negative thing for me. Jeez. A negative thing for me is feeling the stress that everybody was feeling, or being aware of the stress that everyone was feeling. We have the luxury here of being a little bit removed from that, so it's hard to answer that question. I see everything in a positive light,
and it's amazing, and that's
the bad things that happen. You know, I guess for me, it's just the things that everyone else suffers, and the bad feelings that others have gone through and endured. But mostly, I just feel very fortunate to be surrounded by such amazing humans and such amazing critters.
So what's coming for the next couple weeks, couple months? Anything exciting?
Every day is exciting. We've just released a new product called the Live Edge collection. It's an alpaca wool, all Canadian throw. It's never been done before, where it's all Canadian.
I'm so excited.
They're very beautiful. That was about 15 months of work to be able to think it up and then make it happen.
Because you work with an alpaca farm in Prince Edward County, right?
Oh, it's just on the other side of the water here. Yep, at Hickory Lane Alpacas, a young couple with some kids who have taken over their parents' farm, and it's their first sort of big project in terms of like making something. They make their own yarn and beautiful things like that, but it's a really nice joint venture.
It's amazing.
And they're doing tours now, and it's so awesome to see the response that they themselves are getting.
That's awesome.
What else is coming is we are making wool pellet fertilizer. So, continuing on the Sally's Garden idea, we are taking waste belly wool from the sheep, turning it into pellets, and then selling that as a consumer good. So people can make their gardens healthier organically with the Topsy Farms organic fertilizer.
That's awesome.
So it's basically just taking garbage that isn't worth driving to the mill. Like we would literally just open up the sacks in the back 40 and let it just decompose otherwise. So hopefully this will be successful enough that we can start buying that material from other farms, give them twice as much as they would get from it otherwise, and still be able to be able to sell it at a profit margin. Beyond that, we're looking to do some events, small, careful events, maybe a couple of dining experiences, definitely some workshops. Kayaking with Kristin is coming up very soon, so that'll be fun. Starting some kayaking workshops. We have an ongoing kids scavenger quest, scavenger hunt here on the farm, so people can come and just bring the kids around and learn what plants are here and their directions, their north, south, east directions.
That's awesome.
And interact with the animals. So that'll always be changing and adapting.
Depending on the season and
Depending on the season, yeah. We'll probably do 4 or 5 or 6 every year. And that's been a really big hit. We'd like to adapt that to the homeschool. So anybody doing homeschool to be able to come to the farm, and you don't have to interact. There's no cost.
And you're outside.
You're outside. We have the forest trail that we've opened up, again, thanks to the generosity of Kubota, allowing allowing us to keep that equipment longer.
That's awesome.
So I've been able to open up the trail to the forest, which gives access to walking trails and nature in a way that we'd never be able to do before. It was too muddy, it was wretched, there was bushes and prickles all over the place. And now a person can park at the farm, go around the fence so they don't have to be interacting with the sheep and the dogs inside the fence, and get up into the forest.
That's awesome.
It's so great. And then beyond that, we'll be planning for 2021.
It's coming fast.
It's coming fast. The farm never stops, and our ideas never stop, and we have to keep that momentum going. But then surrounding ourselves with other amazing people, like the people who are coming here to the farm to help us out, we'd never be able to do it by ourselves. So being able to spread out that load, to speak to the earlier question about where does that balance come from, it's finding other people to help us, finding other like-minded, kindred spirits to share that load and keep the enthusiasm.
Jake, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming over.